You're live now.
We are live right now, and welcome to the We Recommend It podcast. It's been a month, pretty much, right? It's been about a month. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about Infinity War spoilers. So if you guys haven't seen it, be warned. If you guys don't care about spoilers, it's totally cool.
Yeah.
But if you do, check out for about 10-15 minutes and come back, and hopefully as soon as you don't go back into the stream, and then
we'll be right into the crust of it where everything we give away the secrets.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? But yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about straight up. So first impressions, Infinity War. What do you think?
I liked it. I loved it better than the other Avenger movies. Yeah, and I'm not a Marvel fan.
Oh, I know.
I'm in DC where we're sort of figuring out what to do now.
I think I love this film. I'll say love. I could see the criticisms here and there, like people that I've talked to.
I disagree there.
You don't see any criticisms?
I find it hard because I watched it at the big screen. I only watched it once. I find it really hard to. Those criticisms are probably a bit harsh because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, they got a bit bored."
Yep. Okay.
I think that was one of the criticisms. They were like, "Oh, it's too long." It's like, no.
I heard people saying that there's too much downtime, and I'm like, I didn't feel so it's a 2.5 hour movie, and I didn't feel it at all.
Because there's a lot of emotional moments.
Yeah.
And then if you're not emotionally invested or, with that character at that time, basically you're going to probably feel it. But for me, yeah, I could have watched this movie without watching 10 years of Marvels and still say it's a great movie. So,
yeah. And like that, I think the 10 years mainly is for an emotional side of things, really. And like you can kind of see why people would watch I think you would understand it way easier if you watched like at least half of those movies. Doesn't have to be every single one, but
you could get away watching, I think, Iron Man, Captain America.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Is like if you did have to watch a couple, I think to be honest with you, I think you would even start later than that. Like the first Iron Man, sure, it establishes the character, but like I think you could probably get away with just watching the first Avengers, the second Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy,
Guardians,
Volume 1. It's like that's where you get like a bit of a background for Gamora and like Thanos you actually see properly for the first time. And that's the next topic is the villain is incredible. Like the visual effects alone is astonishing. But yeah, it's a really great villain. Even though you don't agree with what he's doing, like you can see his logic. Not that it's necessarily a good thing. Well, not necessarily a good thing. It's not a good thing. But it's you can see where he's coming from, even though it's a really terrible way of doing it. Instead of just like someone was actually coming up with a plot point, it's like, which doesn't really take away from the movie. They were just like, space is huge. If he really wanted to like half the population by killing people, all you could do is just like transfer half of a planet to a different planet, or like kind of like just spread them all out over the galaxy, considering how big the galaxy is. But I was like, that's a very huge nitpick, and I was like, what the hell?
You could argue the fact if the stones were all powerful, he could have like made more resources to feed everyone as well, rather than just go. No.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The stones are so powerful. That's like, why couldn't you just create the resources? But that's just all nit.
But it goes into his psyche. His mind is set on, no, this is the way we need to do it. That's what was written about it. They didn't try and make him irrational. Like if they made him somewhat rational, but you realized he's not.
He's just a little bit
not
too,
all there. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just too past that checkpoint, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So characters. Let's start off with what was your favorite interactions? Like ones that you haven't seen on screen yet?
Gamora and Peter Quill. I think
Okay.
they were top notch like throughout the whole movie. That I like that interaction better than I did Volume 2, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
So for people that haven't met, like until this movie, so basically, I think the best. Okay, it's really hard to say because all of them are really good. Like in people meeting for the first time, but
Yeah.
I would say the Thor and Guardians stuff together is pretty astounding. Like it's hilarious. Like some scenes, like with Peter Quill and Thor, and basically when Peter Quill mocks his voice and tries to make it deeper and stuff like that, it's pretty great. But also when Thor goes alone on the mission with Groot and Rocket, I think that's where the comedy really picks up. But it's also emotional value because Rocket, in that scene with Rocket talking to Thor in that pod, was really good because it showed the humor side of things, but like Chris Hemsworth's acting in that scene is
Really
astounding. Yeah, because like he even had like tears in his eyes, basically, because when he was talking about his brother and things like that, no matter how complicated their relationship is, the fact that he died right in front of him, like he just like that. And you know, basically everyone that he knows is gone. So and Rocket kind of comforting him in some ways, but the banter between that and then meeting Peter Dinklage's character, which I thought was great.
That was a surprise to me.
I knew he was in the movie. And like everyone was speculating what he could be. If someone, maybe he was just a voice for one of like the CGI characters, like one of the Black Order, like Thanos's like henchmen. That was the rumors, but it turns out he's actually visually and visually enhanced. But yeah, that was a great little cameo, and just like everything kind of just worked out. Like the story, it shouldn't work. This many characters, it shouldn't work.
I think I realize it's because Thanos is there in every scene, so it works in that regard that he has his story being told through different interactions with the Avengers. So I think that's why maybe it works a bit better than if it was just completely separate from everything. So I think that's why it probably worked for me best. But yeah, great movie.
It was pretty great. So if you would say, so top characters were Gamora and Quill.
Yep.
So let's say even just we'll go top 3 moments, like moments that you were like either surprised or just really enjoyed, like scenes or something like that.
All right, so I think the first one was where Gamora tries to kill Thanos, and then she succeeded, but it was that he already had the Reality Stone.
Yep.
And then the moment where Peter Quill has to kill her, that was a powerful scene.
Yeah, and like the bubbles coming out, like, and like because like they had that whole speech. Like about, you know, killing her and stuff like that, and you know, you could tell. I really didn't think
I didn't think he'd pull the trigger. I thought it wasn't, but yeah, for the bubbles, that was unexpected. So that was a great moment. And the other great moment, I think, is the real powerful scene at the end of Spider-Man and Iron Man, where Spider-Man turns to him and says, "I don't want to." I think it was, "I don't want to die."
Yeah, like I just want to go home.
Yeah,
like. And stuff like that, and it was that was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
But like, any action scenes stand out to you as well?
It's the only action scene that I liked was the sequence when they're fighting Thor on that Titan planet, and then they start winning, basically because they planned everything.
You mean Thanos?
Yeah, Thanos.
You said Thor. I was like, when did Thor go to the Titan planet? You mean Thanos?
Yeah. So that scene there was great. I like that action sequence. Everything was set really well. And then Peter Quill comes in and he goes, "Yeah, it worked because it was my idea."
Yeah, he's a bit arrogant. Although all of them are pretty arrogant on that planet, pretty much.
I think it was supposed to be. I think what's his name? Tony Stark was supposed to be the more arrogant one. But yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. So I would say, oh man, I think the Wakanda battle was actually, I think, a little underrated. Um, especially there's a certain scene where they open the force field and they're all running towards the alien creatures, and just all of a sudden, like, it's like a god's eye view of them running towards the shield, and you just see Captain America and Black Panther just basically just sprint as fast as they can, and they're the only two that just fled out from the pack, and it was like amazing. Like, that's like a comic book come to life, and I thought that was pretty incredible. But like I reckon I would say also the whole Gamora death scene. I think that was pretty awesome. And seeing the cameo from Red Skull. It was such like I know it took everyone was like, okay, that was a bit random, but like there was a lot of theories out there where the hell he went. And I thought that was pretty awesome. But yeah, everything just really came together in the end. And I'm really happy that this was the outcome, really. And it's making money, that's for sure. It's already beaten Star Wars The Force Awakens. It's the highest grosser of all time, like opening weekend. And it's like the quickest film to reach $1 billion as well. So now that's Infinity War over and done with. So let's talk about your favorite director. And one of my favorite directors is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. So have you seen his first film? If you haven't, it's all good.
Nah, I didn't bother.
Okay,
it was a short film.
Yeah, like it's like a 70-minute film. It was good. You can see it's a very clever film, like the way it's all set out, and you can see certain shots and the way he's directing his first feature film, and basically see where he's going in the future. I think you see that more as the time goes on, and like certain bits of his earlier movies, you can kind of see where he's going. But yeah, I mean, we don't have to talk about it very much. It's just it's basically a short film. But it's a good watch to see where he started from. And the next film that we're going to talk about is basically his full feature is it's Memento, which came out in 2000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, pretty much I liked it, but I only watched it after knowing he was attached to it. I didn't see it beforehand.
Yeah.
It was out in what, 2000?
2000, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't watch it then, but I watched it afterwards, and yeah, I liked it. You had Guy Pearce, and one of the guys from The Sopranos.
I forgot who that is.
Yeah.
Who's that? I'm blanking on the guy's name.
But yeah, either way, it was
Joe. How do you say his name? I'm gonna stuff up the last name. Pantoliano. For God's sake.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Sorry to all the Italians out there. Holy shit.
All the Italians? Wow.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Anyway, yeah, I think so it came out like in Venice Film Festival. We got pretty high praise. The film kind of took the world by storm. It's kind of has like a cult following at this point. I think it's mostly because of the storyline, and basically it's in everything. All the sequences is in reverse order. So it starts from the end and works its way to the start. And it's not like it's never been done before, but a lot of people mostly stayed away from that sort of thing. And the fact that this was his, big debut, besides like the following, showed some guts. And I think that's what's taken him over the edge in a lot of other movies, even if the movies haven't turned out to be perfect. His invention and his innovation, basically, has
creativity.
That's where he's been top notch. But yeah, it's 92% of Rotten Tomatoes, I think. I want to say. I think it's a little, like I said, I think it's a little overrated, but I wouldn't say any lower than like 80 or something like that for me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not my favorite of his, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that's basically our thoughts on Memento. Once we get towards the later half, we have a lot more to talk about. I'll tell you that. So the next film, Insomnia. So this film has Robin Williams and Al Pacino. It's very different roles, I would say, for both.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
no, maybe Robin Williams more.
Well, Robin Williams, yeah. Al Pacino has done some dark stuff.
At some point, I feel like Al Pacino just came in as Al Pacino.
Yeah, so this movie, it also has Hilary Swank in it, and
she was good.
Yeah, she was good in the film as well, and it's a really interesting story. And people consider this to be his most generic. I don't think so. I think it has a bit more subtext than what lets on. But the powerhouse performances, I think, is what takes over this film. Because Al Pacino, for a while there, he was just Al Pacino. Does that make sense? Like, it's a bunch of wah and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he's basically saying the same stuff over and over again. And it's just overacting to me. Like especially in the 90s, there was moments. And he's already done, Son of a Woman, all that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's his 90s and his 2000s.
90s and his early 2000s. And like Donnie Brasco, Donnie Brasco was good. That was something a little different and back to his roots, I guess. But this was also like a bit more, grounded, and I feel like the overacting in this film, well, I don't think it showed up. There might be some little scenes here and there, but I'm pretty sure throughout the movie, overacting was not the key. It was very, how do I say this? Gray. Like, it's very, not necessarily dull. Like, the movie's not dull, but like the somber, I guess it's probably the right word. It's not like a happy film. Don't expect a cheerful Glee every 10 minutes or something like that. Don't expect straight out comedy.
For me, this movie is a bit strange because, again, I watched it after knowing who Nolan was. But the weird part was when I was watching it, it felt like I've seen this movie before, but I've not seen that movie. I saw the Norwegian version back in ages ago.
Okay.
I saw that one, and then I realized, okay, so it's basically a remake, just with newer characters in there. Not new English version, basically.
Yeah, that's right. It is a remake, on a Norwegian film. And I think it's done really, really well. It's, I don't know. We'll talk about it more later.
It's not his usual style. That's why I thought it was weird when I was watching it. It was because it's not like you notice one of his key features is time shifts in editing. So it'll be
and the fact that
show the scene and from the future, and then he'll show it from the past, but he won't let you know that's what's happened.
Yeah, that's one of his things. Is basically throughout his career, it's the whole time thing. Which he's usually pretty good at.
Which is this movie didn't have. So
it's different.
So I guess he just had to draw on like set pieces from the scenery from in Alaska. It was Alaska? Was that where they shot it?
It was in Alaska. They would have probably shot it in Alaska. I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure. I know that the town was in Alaska in the movie, and it's a detective story, and it's just it's really interesting, and the fact that a lot of the time it's very dark because Alaska gets only so much light, and it's just a really interesting film. I think a lot of people overlook. I think it's a little underrated in my opinion. So that's at 92% as well on Rotten Tomatoes. So that came out in 2002, and then 3 years later is his big break. I would say it's like the big film industry, like the whole box office side of things, because his previous films have made, his first film, his short film, made 48,000. Then it jumped up to 39 million, and then it goes to 113, and then it basically almost triples with Batman Begins in 2005. So what's your thoughts on Batman Begins?
Okay, so when it first came out back in, was it 2005?
2005.
I didn't see it. I didn't really care about it. I was pretty much in the boat with everyone else that watched Schumacher's
Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin.
And then everyone was like, "Yep, no, that's it. I'm done with Batman. Yep, that's he's done. Nothing more." And then when this came out, I thought, "Oh yeah, whatever." And then it came on free-to-air TV, and I actually watched it because I was flicking between the Sydney Swans play and this. Because when there was ad breaks, I thought I'll flick over and see what this is. And then by the end of the night, I was flicking over to the Sydney Swans game during the ad break of Batman Begins. So I didn't realize this movie was actually that good. And then, yeah, it was that good.
So I came to this film. So I didn't watch Memento, Insomnia, or Following before this film, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think I did watch it on TV before The Dark Knight came out. But I didn't remember very much, and I don't think I was paying that much attention. I actually, in some cases, I thought it was like a bit boring, like at the start. I think I was put off because the setup was
weird.
It's different because the setup, it took its time.
You couldn't tell where you were in a point of time. Like you couldn't tell. Wait a minute, he's in training camp. But what? Hang on a minute, he's in court now. What's happening here?
Yeah, like it's
maybe I came in later on and I just wasn't set up for it and I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, it's Bruce Wayne for a while. He's
Bruce Wayne mostly.
Yeah, I would say even like we'll talk about The Dark Knight Rises later, but like I would say those two films out of the trilogy, it's a lot of Bruce Wayne and a certain section of Batman himself.
I can see why it was.
I think this one is more understandable. Like we'll talk about Dark Knight Rises later. I'm trying not to get into that.
I'll finish off the trilogy.
Yeah. But yeah, I went back to the film after The Dark Knight, and I think I had a bigger appreciation for this film after seeing The Dark Knight, which I can't say for Dark Knight Rises. But yeah, it's a really great film. I think, yeah, that's right. A lot of people were hesitant about this film because of the Joel Schumacher, two movies that he did was Batman Forever, which was, not good. And then Batman and Robin came out in the late 90s, and that was freaking terrible. But yeah, Batman Begins is an incredible movie, and I think people overlook that and go straight to The Dark Knight, which is understandable. I think you should go back and watch Batman Begins. And then finish on Dark Knight and don't watch Dark Knight Rises. So let's talk about the next film. So that got 85%, 84% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good thing.
So let's talk about the masterpiece now.
Okay, so this is interesting. So let's talk about this straight away. So The Prestige came out in 2006, which was a year after Batman Begins.
Yep.
And the percentage, I'm going to say Rotten Tomatoes score right now, it's 75%. This is his second lowest rated movie. Even The Following, his first movie, has 79.
Yeah, but have you seen the audience score?
But okay, yeah, I know. The audience score is, what is the audience score?
92%.
90%. Now that makes sense. To me, it's either that or even, I would say even higher than that in my books. We'll talk about the top three later, but this is a movie that kind of surprised me out of nowhere. So I watched Batman Begins and I watched The Dark Knight before this movie. And I think I even watched Insomnia before this movie.
Yeah.
And I was just so surprised by this movie. It's very intelligent, which a lot of his movies usually are. But every time I watch it, I see something different. And you can spot different things, and
it's strange watching it the second time around
because you know
what's coming. But yeah, that first time,
it's okay. We can spoil things in this one. Like, it's heads up. Like, it's how old's this movie? 2006. It's past time. It's all good.
Just in case someone hasn't seen it and they want to see it.
But I would say this film, I guess we won't spoil it. I think this film we won't spoil because if you haven't seen this film, I think you should go check it out. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix still.
Yeah, I watched it the other day. It was still perfect.
That's what I mean. And as I said, we'll talk about our top three later, but it's, for me, objectively, looking at it, not necessarily as a favorite of mine, even though it is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's I think, close to a perfect movie for me. One of his more perfect movies. I think that on a technical level, acting wise, inventiveness.
Well, it has Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale and Michael Caine, and it's got Scarlett Johansson came in there.
Yeah, Rachel McAdams, right? That's the two.
No, I don't think that was her.
Am I blanking on that?
Rachel McAdams isn't she someone else entirely different? Hang on.
Is that Rachel McAdams, or is she the one that? Spoiler alert: Hugh Jackman's wife dies at the start. I'm pretty sure. No, maybe that's
the wife is Piper Perabo.
Oh, is it?
Rebecca Hall is
wow,
Christian Bale's wife.
All right. So
yeah, I told you Rachel McAdams is someone different.
I'm finished from the podcast now. Eddie's taking over.
There's two more characters in here that I just didn't realize who they were while watching it. And the other guy I didn't even know until I watched a wholly different movie. It has David Bowie in it.
Yes,
as Nikola Tesla, which
he's fantastic.
I didn't even know it was him. And I've seen The Labyrinth. Was it The Labyrinth?
Labyrinth, yeah.
It was like he's completely different in this movie, and it had a very young Andy Serkis.
Yeah, well, young. Okay, calm down.
I didn't know what he looked like because I've only known him as Caesar.
I think, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, unfortunately, people think when people think Andy Serkis, if they know the name, is Gollum, King Kong, and now Caesar.
He wasn't King Kong.
He was the original, not original King Kong, but like in 2005, Peter Jackson, he did the.
That was okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
But yeah, and like people don't think of him as a live action star, which he's just I think he's just straight out a character actor, which a lot of the times the character actors are sometimes better than some of the stars.
He was good in this movie too.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, David Bowie and him didn't have like massive roles, but they were in it enough and important to the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really great film, and yeah, the twists and turns in this movie, like there's a couple. There's obviously a main one towards the end, which we'll try not to spoil that one. But
there's 2, 3.
Well, there's a couple. There's at least some zigzags as you think it's going one way and then it goes the other.
It's funny because you watch it the second time around and you realized he's actually laid out all the clues for you.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
Damn, that's clever.
That's what I was saying. Like every time you watch it, watch the different things.
Yeah, watch the scene where he's on his own and he's doing that birdcage trick, and then the little kid goes, "Oh, but the bird's dead," and then they show him another bird, and they're like, "Oh no, he's fine." He's like, "Yeah, but where's his brother?"
Where's his brother?
That was man, that was clever.
that was some impact, man.
Because I only got it the second time around watching it. I was like, "Oh, okay, well done, Nolan. Well done."
Yeah, like that's the thing, and it does have some emotional type stuff as well. But it's like the start is basically based on an emotional event that happens to Hugh Jackman and his wife. So
yeah, that's when it all goes
basically. Yeah, because they were on top of the world really at one point, like at the start, and then basically it's working their way to get back to that. Really,
they won't
and prove a point to themselves, like to the other person. Like it's kind of basically it's just one-upping every time to see who can come up with the best magic trick. Hence, we didn't even say the plot, but like that's basically what it is. It's a hell of a lot of magic.
It's about a couple of magicians, if you
and you think it's not like you think magic. Like if you think magic movie, it's not going to be that great. It's not going to be that fantastic. You're going to see.
Oh no, this is.
I think the thing is, The Illusionist with Edward Norton came out around the same time.
That's a piece of crap compared to this.
I would say, okay, but I get your analogy there. Like you're comparing the two, but like I would say, look, it's a good movie. Like,
did you just compare Birdemic to Alfred Hitchcock's Birds?
Okay, calm down. I didn't say that. But yeah, it's a really great movie. We should probably move to the next one because he has actually quite a few films that I keep forgetting how many films he actually does have. So that was in 2006. He got 75% by the critics. And then the masterpiece that is The Dark Knight.
The highest rated
That's right. The highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes by critics is 94%.
And audience is 94% as well.
There we go. So this film, we're gonna not too deep dive, but we're gonna talk about it. So this is
settle in, folks. This is gonna be a long talk.
So this film, how many times did you only watch it once in the theater?
I didn't even watch it in the theater.
Oh, that's right, you didn't. Yeah.
I didn't even watch it. I only watched because I didn't know about Batman Begins back in those days. I didn't really see the trailer for this, so I completely missed it in the theaters. I watched Batman Begins and I was like, oh, that's a great movie. And then I watched The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Oh, not Dark Knight, sorry. And I was like, okay. And then my mind was just completely blown.
At this point, because you watched Dark Knight, right? After a lot of things. And
so I bought the DVD. So there was a dual DVD set that came out with Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
So I got that thinking that was it. And then I watched Batman Begins, and then I watched The Dark Knight. And then half an hour later, I watched The Dark Knight again. And then another 10 minutes, I watched it again. So I watched it 3 times in a row on one Sunday. And then I came back on the Monday and watched it again because it was... I've never... If you know me, I've never watched a movie 3 times in a row.
Unless... in a row. Yeah, keep going.
In a row at all. And then so throughout the year, I probably watched this movie another 20 times. And every year since, I watch it probably 2 or 3 times
a year.
But I do the whole trilogy run now as well. But this movie has the best acting I've seen from
a comic book movie.
Not a in any like the best acting I've seen from anything. Heath Ledger just raised the bar too high, and nothing else. I can't really compare him to anything else that I watch anymore. It's very difficult for me to just go, oh yeah, it's comparable to that. No. He just blew it out the water. And his Joker is probably the most scariest thing.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because there's a lot of
I've seen
a lot of genres in this movie. It's not just a straight out comic book movie, that's for sure. Same thing as Batman Begins, but like they take this to Nolan takes this to a new level.
Oh yeah.
That people still to this day, after 10 years, consider this to be the best comic book movie ever made at the very least. And still people consider that this movie should have been nominated for Best Picture in 2009, which is totally understandable. And this is the reason, like this movie alone is the reason why the Oscars changed to 10 movies, a possible of 10 movies to be nominated.
Let's not talk about the Oscars because I don't really care about the Oscars.
I know you don't care about the Oscars. I do in some ways.
No, I don't care.
Yeah, Oscars so what?
Go back to The Dark Knight.
Anyway, Dark Knight. It's okay. So this is I love this movie. I think Heath Ledger's performance is outstanding. I think the action is really well choreographed. The first 10, 15 minutes alone is very tense. The music, his music, like the score of
you mean
of Heath Ledger,
the robbery scene?
The robbery scene.
Yeah.
Like the first 10 minutes, and you hear that score is like chilling, and you see all the action go down. It goes from one person to the next.
Yeah.
Each with a clown mask, and when he takes that clown mask off and
reveals
himself,
oh man,
it was like scary as all hell. So I watched this movie 3 times in the theater. 3 times. The first time I was so shocked, I had to watch it again just to make sure that I was thinking that this would be the best comic book movie that's ever been made.
Yeah.
And then I watched it the second time. I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." And then someone asked, "Oh, do you want to go see Dark Knight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I'll go again." So I did. And after that third time, I was like, "Wow, I can watch this movie at least twice a year and have no problems doing it, just to chuck it in at any time." But the thing is with this movie, even going back to it, is that I think for me, Christian Bale is still not the Batman for me. I don't think he I know. I think Heath Ledger stole that movie so much that I feel like it's basically a Joker movie, with Batman on the side. It's Batman's a side dish and Joker is the main. It's
I think this one, yeah, it is the part where Batman features the most.
Batman features the most in this movie,
as in like the Batman character. But the story is totally driven by the Joker.
Yeah.
Everything is pretty much evolved around him.
Yeah, that's right. But it's a great movie, and I don't put it down for that. I think the last 10, 15 minutes is a little draggy. You're not gonna like that. I think the whole Two-Face thing really it kind of puts it down just a notch for me because it was so shoved in. But
I love
it was fine. It was fine.
No,
it was the weakest. It was the weakest part of the movie. Can you at least admit that, or no?
No, you needed.
Wow,
you
really?
needed to see him go to that edge. The Two-Face.
In this movie, you couldn't do that in the next one.
Why would you want to do that?
Why would you kill one of the biggest Batman villains just straight out like that?
Because you needed a driving point, I guess,
for what?
For them to hate the Batman.
Did it have to be killing off that character? You couldn't kill just a random thug or something? Something, I don't know. A more bottom feeder villain. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's... And also...
I think because if you get half your face blown off, you haven't got much chance of surviving anyway. I don't see why you wanted
Dr. Eddie.
some guy to be with half his face blown off and his teeth was missing, and it didn't look like the doctors were doing much besides putting bandages on his face.
I think it still would have been nice if he died. I know that nice, not the word.
Not nice if he died.
Okay, no, like I think both of the characters should have died. I think he should have turned up to him and still couldn't save him. Both of them die. And that Joker plotline could still work. That thing doesn't even have a hinge on these two characters. Like, especially Harvey Dent. Like Harvey Dent at the start, like it's a big deal with the whole Joker situation. Yeah. But the whole Two-Face thing didn't really need to be there. Like that's got nothing to do with the main plot.
No, it was his side plot to corrupt someone. If he's not corrupted, then the movie doesn't really make any sense because he's not really achieved what he wanted to.
Yeah, man.
Either way, it has some of the best lines.
The dialogue.
It's funny. People quote this movie, but don't realize it's from the. It's like when they say, "Oh, you can be a hero," or what was it?
Shit! Now I'm blanking on the freaking thing. The deserve.
You can die a hero or be long enough to become the villain.
To become a villain, and then you got the whole deserve thing, which came out for everyone talking about that.
You know where I heard that off the most? It was off Hizzy when they do the how it should have ended bits.
Yes, yeah.
the Comic-Con trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I heard it, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And you don't realize it's actually Jim Gordon that says it, not Batman.
Yeah,
and then totally Harvey Dent delivers the line for the hero line.
There's so many quotes that get misquoted, like from famous movies all the time. Like there's like a Jaws one and heaps. There's heaps. Even Empire Strikes Back gets misquoted, like the whole "Look at me, father" thing and all that kind of stuff.
So let's talk about the next masterpiece.
Hang on, no, where are you going?
What have we got? It was
it's Inception.
Inception.
Okay, so this movie, some people know, especially on Twitter, like my friend George on Twitter, he loves this movie, and we always had a back and forth. And when I first watched this movie, I hated it. I don't know why. Maybe I was just in a bad mood or something, but I didn't go to the theaters and watch it, and I just watched it at home, and I was like, whatever, like this, I don't really care. This sucks. And like, and I don't know what it was about that day. So like a couple of years later, I watched it again, and like I said to George on Twitter, and I said, I'm going to watch it again and see how it goes. I watched it, and I said, okay, I like it. I would say I like it. And then probably a couple months later, I thought, nothing. I couldn't find anything else to watch, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll give that another go and see if I can get to that stage where people are like, this is a masterpiece. And Inception, to me, is very inventive. The innovation is incredible from Nolan again, and it's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's not in my top like 3, but it's a fantastic movie. Brilliant acting. Tom Hardy he almost steals it with his like comedy in this movie, like this, because he's kind of like I wouldn't say comic relief, but he's basically like a James Bond type character because he's very like suave and like I don't know. He's supposed to be somewhat sarcasm. Yeah, and he does it really well. It's something different too for him. Like he usually doesn't do that. He's more serious
because he's a proper actor.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's just some schlub they pulled off the street and
said you can be the comic relief. But yeah, it's a great film. Ellen Page is really good in this movie, and Leonardo DiCaprio is, as usual, at least in these later years.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it, and was it Marion
Cotillard? But yeah, it's a great cast. I mean, Nolan.
Was this the first English movie she did?
It could be 2010, maybe. If there is an earlier one, I'm not sure.
I don't remember seeing her in anything prior, English-wise, anyway.
Yeah. That's possible. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, unless she's done like some smaller films before that in English, like some independent films. But yeah, it's a really great movie. I don't know what else to say about this, to be honest.
So this movie is where you see Nolan's CGI creativity come into effect.
Yeah.
So this is where you sort of gather the picture. This guy can make big set piece movies with CGI and a mixture of sets to make it look clean.
Yeah, because even though Dark Knight and Batman Begins were like bigger budget movies and stuff like that, it was still definitely
it was set in sort of one location, like
it always looked realistic. Not necessarily that this doesn't, but I think it looked rounded.
I don't think he used much CGI in those two. No, whereas this you actually saw, okay, so they must have used CGI unless they built 2 cities and just collapsed it on top of each other. I mean, this is where you actually see that sort of his sort of style being shown.
Yeah.
Plus, this is where I can't really remember if he introduced the back and forth timeline, but it seemed like Marion Cotillard, her character, came in and sort of gave that performance.
Yep.
But yeah, this is where you actually see. Okay, so he's actually got his action scenes are more refined now.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably all I can say about this movie. I didn't really care too much for it.
Okay. All right. That's all right.
Yeah, it's a good concept. It's original, which I love.
I think, and it's original big movie too. It's not just like an independent movie that's original, because there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
On that scale, but like for big movies, it's Warner Brothers took a risk. Like, Anyway,
and the editing of this was just pretty much,
People were talking about
if you're wondering why I carry a baseball with me everywhere, it's because just in case I'm in the Inception world, I spin this, but obviously I haven't worked out how it's going to topple.
No, I was going to say, how's that going to topple? Anyway, the ending of this movie had a lot of talk. Like everyone was talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
So that came out in 2010, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. And 2012, here we go. Let's talk about this. All right.
Yes,
let's get ready. Let's get ready for this. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I just got to get my Batcopter set up. Here we go.
Okay, so The Dark Knight Rises is 2012. It got 80. No, what's the percentage on Rotten Tomatoes? 87 freaking percent.
That's the critic score.
That's the critic score. What's the?
And the audience score was like 90%.
Yeah, don't get me fucking started
on. Go on, okay. Tell the people why you hated it.
This movie, I watched an IMAX midnight screening over in Sydney, and I watched it with a couple of friends, and the excitement. Everyone was all hyped, and it was like the premiere, like not the premiere, the first showing, basically. And it was really good, I thought. I think it was a lot of hype. A lot of people were like the crowd was really into it. You can tell, and I thought I was into it. And the big screen, oh my god, this movie.
All right, so what went wrong for you, Craig? What went wrong?
I went back to
tell the audience where the bad touches were.
I went back to the Dark Knight Rises a couple times. I've tried to really like this film. I think there's a lot of plot holes.
Name one.
One. So the whole, like the biggest one, I get there's a lot of plot holes in a lot of movies.
Name one, Craig. Just give me one.
Okay, so let's talk about Bruce Wayne getting back to
Gotham.
Going back to Gotham.
So you can't fathom him climbing out of a well or a cave or whatever he was trapped in, the prison.
Massive prison
with a bunch of rocks where you could probably stick some
with a broken
bars in there.
With a broken back, yep.
Oh, that was way out there, that one. So you can't believe he couldn't get back from there to Gotham.
Middle East, yep, somewhere in the Middle East, I'm guessing somewhere.
So when you see the movie, there's a shot of how he's walking across, and there's a town there. So you don't believe he could have walked to that town and asked for a phone or something. you have and get a plane ride from there.
I don't care how
somewhere in America,
and then just walk straight through to Gotham. And then climb up the bridge and like get his Batman suit back and everything like that, and then climb up the what it was, the bridge, right, where he did the whole flame shit, like we're on the ice and all that.
Oh no, we talked about that. That's Fox up there with the what was the line you pulled out from Shawshank Redemption?
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah, so he's just painting.
yeah.
The thing. So you can't. For some reason, you cannot believe he can go from one place in the world to another,
Wait for it.
Yeah.
The Bane is a fantastic villain. Now wait for it.
What?
Wait for it. He's a great villain. And then he gets shot by Catwoman and he's dead. At the end of the film, like, oh my god. It is the worst thing I've seen in a comic book movie for a long time.
I love that.
He just gets, he's done. He's been apparently number 2, like, and I just want to take a number 2 on this movie. Yeah, that's right. I said that. He literally just gets wiped out just like that. Done. End of the movie. It's not even the end of the movie. It's still a little bit to go. Like, this movie is long, and you can tell. Like, it feels long. It feels long. Don't get me wrong. There's some action set pieces that are really good in this movie. I don't believe Anne Hathaway. I don't believe it. Like, it's like,
you don't believe what?
I don't believe she's Catwoman. Like, it doesn't feel like she's Catwoman. It feels way too hammy. Like, man, this movie really gets me.
I don't understand how you didn't get the scenes.
Man, okay, so here we go. This is one of Christopher Nolan's worst traits when it comes to directing. Here we go. I'm going to say it flat out.
Say it.
So Dark Knight and Batman Begins. The action, the hand-to-hand combat is okay. It's okay. The hand-to-hand combat is okay. It's nothing special. The action set pieces, not necessarily involving hand-to-hand combat, is good. Like the whole first section of The Dark Knight with the whole, bank robbery scene and all that kind of stuff. He sets out that stuff really good.
Yeah.
Playing with guns, all good. But hand-to-hand combat, and you notice it here the most, is really lazy. I think his action when it comes to the whole hand-to-hand combat is the worst part of his directing style.
Yes, so his choreography of combat probably isn't the best.
It's not exciting. It's not exciting. It's the least exciting part of the whole movie. There's some dialogue scenes that are more exciting than the actions.
So probably the action sequence in the Batman vs Superman scenes, like as in the Ben
As in
Affleck
the
scene
Ben Affleck
where
scene in the
he's
warehouse.
and then he's hiding from the cops up the top on the corner. I think that was probably better than what Nolan has done with, but that's not the main story for this character.
I love you
You're looking at it as
trying to defend this movie.
he wasn't really that good, kicking people's asses. The other thing I discount it is when you look at the background, you can see some guy will just drop without no one near him, and I thought, okay, that's a bit weird. And then you look at the background in the final scene of Dark Knight Rises, which I hated the fact Batman was shown in daylight. So I hated that part of it, but I still loved it. You notice the background characters when they're fighting, you can see that it's like fake wrestling moves.
Yeah,
is that's what they're doing because he wants you to focus on Bane and Batman fight, but it's totally noticeable when you watch it like a few times around that okay, well these guys are just standing there and they're pulling at each other's hair or something. So
look, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, I say I hate this movie. I do like some scenes. I don't think it's terrible. I just think
you hated the scene where I'm going to call him Robin because I think it was John Blake. His name. He shows up to the mansion and he talks about smiling in a mirror, and then he has the same smile as Bruce Wayne, and that's how he knows. I thought that was a powerful scene. You hated it.
I was like, so that was
probably also. I don't know if you hated the scene because I loved it as well. Is when Catwoman goes to the airport, and then she gets stopped, and then they go into the room. And then he turns around and says, before I was looking for you, I was actually looking for a friend of mine, Bruce Wayne. And then you could see Anne Hathaway actually just get into character and just go, you look at him and go, oh, good shit.
Okay.
They both know he's actually Batman. And then she doesn't say anything and he turns around and he goes, did they kill him? And she just says, I don't know. And I thought that was powerful scenes throughout the movie. You just absolutely hated, even though 90% and 87%. And
Nolan fanboys.
Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker for you. So in the first Batman Begins, it's a story of Bruce Wayne going away to become Batman. And then the Dark Knight is carrying on that he's still Batman. The Dark Knight Rises becomes for me, he actually goes away and returns as Bruce Wayne rather than Batman, because that's it makes the final plot seem better rather than him just dying as the Dark Knight and not coming back.
Yep. Okay. I get you.
Yeah,
I can see that.
So it's weird because
you're still wrong, but yeah,
he goes away as Bruce Wayne, comes back as Batman, and goes away as Batman and comes back
as Bruce Wayne,
and it
I get that.
Puts a nice end to it, and I love the ending. Just in case, because you hated it because you can't fathom him getting out before a 6 mile radius blast zone goes off.
No, that's not the biggest problem with me. Is the ending in general is he's retired. And he's in a coffee shop. He's like, apparently that's the only cafe in
Did
France.
you get the setup from the start?
No. I get it, but that's the only Okay, so this is supposed to be super realistic, right? That's the whole point of this trilogy. It's supposed to be more of a realistic take on Batman.
You can't believe that someone that goes around beating up people at night is able to find out where his butler goes for his cafe drinks
in France.
Wherever he was.
It was in France.
He gets a little birdie Frankie or whatever freaking calls him.
But he's not supposed to keep in contact. That's it.
He didn't keep in contact. He knew where
in France. He knew where he was going in France, a cafe in France. They've been to France together a couple of times, have some coffee. All right, let's move to the next movie.
Go on.
Oh, for freaking sake. I wish this next movie wasn't the movie we're going to talk about because, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like this movie.
You want to tell the audience the movie?
All right. Sorry, I did.
You watched it again, didn't you?
I watched it again, and I like this movie more than I did the first time. But there's still okay. This is called freaking now I'm forgetting the movie name. Interstellar.
Yeah, okay.
It's good. It's good. I would say okay. I wouldn't say it's good. It's okay.
What was it you called it? Into snore?
I don't know. Into snoozing? I don't know. It's okay. But it's nothing special. I would say. I would say innovative again. That's the thing that we always talk about is innovation with Nolan, which
I
is
think this one he shows he can do realistic science movies where gravity has an effect, where physics is actually real, unlike the movie Gravity, where nothing makes sense.
well, that's more exciting.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Full disclaimer: I didn't watch it.
Exactly.
I saw what's his face.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Blah blah blah. Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
No. I saw George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, and I thought I'll give it a hard pass this one. And then it just physics wise, gravity wise, science wise, it made no sense where this does, but it is just probably what you made the statement about last one. This you feel it. This you feel it more than anything else. It's long.
It's way too long. I mean, I get that they're telling a big story, I guess you could say, like, but it's just way too long. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes or something. I want to say close to that area. But it's so Rotten Tomatoes scores it. I think it's 70 something, 71%. So it's the lowest rated Christopher Nolan film, and I would say somewhat appropriately. But I think it's a lot more innovative than The Dark Knight Rises. So it's really, for me, it's between those two films. Matthew McConaughey gives a great performance.
Acting's fine in this. There's nothing. Everyone's pretty solid, even the little kid.
Matt Damon.
That was just that.
It's just out of place.
Probably why it was too long.
It's just it feels really out of place. Matt Damon's character in this movie.
It's because they build his character up as someone, and then they I don't know if the studio said, "Oh, we need to show it. We got Matt Damon. He's already in a studio that's red. Do you want to go just shoot a couple of scenes with him?"
Yeah, pretty much. But we don't have to talk about this movie too much. The next movie I'm intrigued about because I think you said you liked it at the very least. It got 92% of Rotten Tomatoes, and that movie's called Dunkirk, and it came out last year.
Yep.
And I watched this movie just the other night, and okay, so this is my opinion on this movie. I think it's around middle ground, I would say, like when it comes to Nolan's movies, I'm talking about like the middle placing for me. I don't think it's anywhere near his lowest. That's for sure for me. I think the technique and the directing style, I think it's improved in his directing. Like, I mean, I guess that's going to happen naturally with a lot of really good directors anyway. But the set pieces in this movie, I think it's only a short movie too. It doesn't feel long, which just like we were talking about Interstellar. It's like a 2 hours and 50-minute movie, and I'm pretty sure Dunkirk, I'm just going to check now. I'm pretty sure it's like an hour and a half-ish. Like, I don't think it's even 2 hours. I'm pretty sure. Let me check. 106 minutes. So, yeah, it's under 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it just flies by. And that was the thing that impressed me the most, because I've heard people talk about this movie, and I've even heard people say it's boring, and I don't see that at all. And the fact that there's really no hand-to-hand combat is a good plus for me. I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
So, this is the one I recommend on our first podcast. Watch this movie if you like wartime movies. I can see why people might say it's boring is because you're somewhat not paying attention or you're not invested in it anymore. Whereas me, visually, this looked so stunning. It kept my eyes on the screen, so I wasn't looking at my phone. And virtually, because there's no dialogue, you have to watch it. Otherwise, you're not really going to know what's happening at any given point. The only thing I probably didn't like was the other criticism I have of this whole movie was the fact they establish the days and hours at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was for the people. I think probably a movie executive saw this and was totally confused as to what was going on at the end. Where I looked at it and I thought, okay, so he's in a plane. They're on the boats. They're on the land. So obviously the plane's not... because it's all shot in one sequence. sort of.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of gathered the plane's going to be faster than the boat, and the boat's probably going to be a bit faster than the people on the land.
Yeah.
I understood that concept. This is edited perfectly.
I was going to say.
And the guy won an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
It's done. So the editing here is just spot on.
I think it's visually stunning, like just in general. Like,
well, you have to, if you haven't got a strong dialogue, which this has none of it.
Yeah.
You have to show emotion enough on the screen from the characters, and you got to convey what they're actually going through without just exposition after exposition after exposition.
Yeah.
And no big, oh no, we need to get these people off, we need a motivation speech. None of that. It was just a bunch of guys trying to escape. And then it was funny because that guy that was silent throughout the whole movie, that didn't say anything, I kind of knew, okay, he's got to be French. He's got to be a Frenchman. And then it was great, that little bit there. And then when they look at each other and there's a body laying on the ground at the first scene, and they just look at each other and they see some other two medics run onto a boat, and they're like, all right, this is our way out here. I understood it straight away as soon as I saw it. I didn't need them to go explain the plotline to me and then go, okay, we get this and then we do this. No, you just see him carrying this dead body onto a boat, trying to escape, basically.
Yeah, so that, I think for the most part, Nolan does that very well, especially with this movie, the whole exposition thing, where it's basically the exposition is visual looks, or like it's not spoken. I mean, I think he's been good with that for the most part throughout his career, and this one definitely you can see that, and it's just visually interesting. It's very intense, obviously, but there's that scene that's even in the trailer, the whole boat, like them in the water, and it looks like they're about to get crushed. Like that scene, even though you saw it in the trailer, if you've seen the trailer, it's still extremely tense in the movie itself. Like it doesn't, like, you know how you watch trailers and they basically give it away, or something like a big moment or something like that, and it takes away kind of like that, like emotion or how intense that shot was or whatever it is. This didn't do that, and I think the trailers are really well done. Like I watched most of the trailers and I was interested in the movie, and I know it took me a while to see it, but I was really happy with the outcome. Like I know people are mixed on it, but for the most part, majority of critics at least really enjoyed it, and I can see why it was nominated for Best Picture as well, and it totally deserved it. And it's one of his shorter movies too. I would say one, besides The Following, I think that was the shortest.
Yeah, to try and match up what happens in the air.
Yeah.
Just to make that sort of the Tom Hardy scenes is sort of the centerpiece. And it's weird because we talk about his movies and you see these recurring actors that come back. Tom Hardy, Cillian.
That's it. That's the first one I was going to say, was Cillian Murphy.
So I was surprised not to see them just pop up somewhere here. But yeah.
Because Cillian Murphy's in, he's in it, yeah.
He's the guy on the boat.
He's the guy on the boat, yeah. And Tom Hardy in the sky and things like that. And there's a couple of kids,
basically don't talk to a whole movie,
including the guy from one of the guys from One Direction.
I didn't even notice. I'm not a One Direction fan.
That's probably a good sign, though. Like, does that make sense? Like that he blended in well enough with the movie that it didn't take over. I was like, oh, that's the guy from whatever. But it's a really good movie, and I think most people should check it out. Like you gave it a recommendation in the first episode, and I totally agree with that. And it's quick and easy too, like to sit down and watch it. And that was on Netflix. Did I watch it on Netflix?
No, you would have to watch it on a DVD or a Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Or you probably watched it on your PlayStation rental.
Yeah,
because that's the three places I can watch things.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because like Nolan has a couple movies on Netflix. So I'm probably mixing up a couple. Anyway.
Oh yeah, he's got a few on there.
He's got a few on there.
And I've liked them all.
Including, I'm pretty sure he has all the Dark Knight trilogy on there.
He's got the Dark Knight trilogy. He's got the Prestige
Inception,
and Interstellar. I don't think Inception's there. I can't remember.
I think Inception's on there now. That's probably why I'm.
Okay.
But it's a great movie. You guys should go check out. So
Nolan's career.
So that's he's
so far.
He's had a pretty good career. Now that's the next question I was going to bring up is, so I know we were talking about it before. So you were saying if you had to compare, so would you say he's the next Kubrick and not Spielberg, because Spielberg is more
mainstream,
very mainstream, I would say.
Yeah.
Besides a few,
just I think we bring up the point pretty much all the time. Spielberg, everyone knows.
yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're into movies or not, you'll know Spielberg.
yeah,
Stanley Kubrick, virtually no one will know unless you get told about him.
movie fan or the massive movie fan.
So that's where I believe Nolan is basically in that category of Kubrick and probably Scorsese a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that too.
That's where he sort of sits, and it makes sense to me because if you ever watch 2001: Space Odyssey, the shots in there, I always wonder how he's shot it, Kubrick, and then sometimes Nolan is like he's doing similar work. I can tell what he's done, but it's sort of the camera angles that he uses and the set pieces or whatever. I can see the similarity.
Yeah, totally.
Where Spielberg is more, you can tell what he does.
Yeah, it is a lot more mainstream. I think that's the big word, though. It's not like Spielberg hasn't made good smaller movies, but it's still, for the majority, like like you were saying, if someone says Spielberg, for the most part, I mean, 90% of the chance they'll go, oh, okay, yeah,
Jaws, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, there's been so many like big movies that he's done that it's like, yeah, and yeah, I think that's a question answered there, and I think the top three for me personally.
Here we go.
So at number three, it's The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Number two, objectively, this is my favorites, but objectively, it's his masterpiece, which is The Prestige. Is number two. And number one, which, like I've said, I think it's his most underrated movie, which is Insomnia.
Oh wow!
I love that movie, and I usually watch it at least once, twice a year. And I think it really is his most underrated. And I think for me, I don't know what it is. I mean, sort of, it's always been one of my favorites, maybe number two even. But then when Robin Williams passed away,
you like Robin Williams a lot, so
yeah. When Robin Williams passed away, I went back, and that was one of the first movies I watched after that again. And to see how subtle his performance is incredible. And he usually is a bit more big in character, at least in a lot of his movies, and it's one of his best performances, if not the best for me. Besides like Good Will Hunting and things, but it's just a movie that really impacts me pretty much.
Cool. So my one is going to be The Dark Knight.
Number one, right?
Prestige in second.
Yeah,
because I like magic in general. I watch Penn and Teller and all them. So I love watching that. And then it's going to be Batman Begins over Dunkirk.
Yeah, okay.
So pretty much everything is all good.
But at least
trilogy, the whole trilogy.
No, you only need two movies.
No. Get the trilogy. Otherwise, you're going to be completely lost.
Anyways,
so that's
Nolan. That's Nolan's career, man. And I can't wait to talk about someone else's career. But it's been a good run. And hopefully he stays with the business. Stays in the business. He doesn't just get.
No.
He's a guy.
Because you slammed Dark Knight Rises, I'm pretty sure
he's gone now.
He's writing his letter of resignation.
There was a random Australian guy on a podcast that no one watches. That's it.
He slammed a movie.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's been Nolan's career and a bit of Infinity War spoilers. So we'll check you guys out next time. And as we always say here, well, some people say,
get recommended.
Get recommended.
We're going to need to start a hashtag.
Yeah, I think so.